This is another Black Girl podcast. Black girl. We're doing our best to make it last. This is another Black Girl podcast. We're doing our best to make it last. Another Black Girl podcast. Hey everyone, this is your host Laura. Today is going to be a bit of a difficult and slightly louder episode. If you can hear my mother speaking loudly in the background, that might be what I'm referring to. Just tune her out. You know how Black moms can be on the phone. No shade. Also, there is some construction going on where I live, so I'm going to try and edit out the banging that you might be hearing. Again, my apologies, but, you know, we got to do the best with the hand that we're dealt. So, this is the 18th episode of Another Black Girl podcast, and I'm so glad you tuned in. The socials are probably going to pop up later in this episode, but they're not about to happen now. I'm not feeling it yet. But you probably already follow me, and you following me on here and tuning in to our weekly chit chats means a lot to me. So, if you didn't know, this week was Trans Awareness Week. It is a week that basically spreads awareness. It spreads awareness, and it's a celebratory week for our trans brothers, sisters, and siblings leading up to the Trans Day of Remembrance, which was yesterday, November 20th. Wow. Yes, it was yesterday, November 20th. And I know somewhere deep down, somebody cisgendered, problematic, brunkle, wow, uncle, auntie, cousin, brother, sister, sibling, whatever, is probably wondering why there needs to be an awareness and remembrance day or days. We need awareness because it is important, and there's still a lot of behaviors that a lot of people have to unlearn because they're transphobic, specifically transphobic. And yes, you know, I'm going to bring it to race, and sometimes we see transphobia mixed in a big pot with equal parts racism. And for our Black, specifically our Black trans sisters, they have to face both of those things simultaneously. And if that's too radical of a concept, I'm going to mention some names and situations right now of Black cisgendered women that experienced equal parts transphobia and racism and misogyny, because they experienced that too. One cis Black woman who faced transphobia, racism, and misogyny is our former and best First Lady of the United States. Remember when they called Michelle Obama a ape, a gorilla? Remember when they said that she was actually a man? Like, how much more transphobic can you be? Another woman who basically experienced the same thing was Serena Williams. Remember when they drew that cartoon of her and she was like all like blown up with like some brolic shoulders, jumping, like throwing a tantrum on a tennis court because she lost? Remember when they drew her basically as a man? Clearly, we know the racial implications here are that if we call Black people monkeys, it's clear. Period, full stop. If you need an explanation, you might want to Google it. Transphobia, that whole, oh, she's actually a man thing. And the most transphobia I see about that, quote, she's actually a man thing, is with Wendy Williams. First of all, what somebody actually is, that's not my business. What somebody identifies as is not my business. Third of all, ain't nobody was talking about your uncle's hairline that was receded behind his ears, because why? That's not your business. And also, why does that give you an excuse to respect them less? Why is somebody's preference or gender identity a reason to respect them less than you would a cisgendered person? It shouldn't, is the point. If this is the first time you're hearing anything like this, there's no judgment here. There's a little, because trans people have always existed. They've always been here. Just like they've been here. So the whole sentiment of like, oh, I didn't know they existed. I didn't know, like, where have they been hiding? They've been here. So we've all got to start from somewhere. We've all got to start educating ourselves. We've all got to start taking accountability. So today is a great day to do so. And since taking accountability and educating yourself can be a bit uncomfortable, especially if you don't want to ask someone to do the emotional labor of educating you without really paying, I always forward people who need more information and some cute graphics to India Moore's Instagram. It's at INDYAMOORE. Period. Not only do I point them to India Moore's Instagram for the cute graphics and the info, in her link tree at India Moore, same as her Instagram name, there are a whole bunch of links for intersex surgeries, press conference, change the name campaign, the fund, trans exclusive shelters. In short, there are a lot of places where you can send your money to stand in solidarity and to help support your trans brothers, sisters, and siblings. I'm going to be dropping a whole bunch of organizations that you can donate and send your money to at the end of either this segment or this episode, so stay tuned for that. But right now, we're going to talk. In my personal experience of speaking to my problematic and slightly uneducated family when it comes to trans issues, there's a lot of ignorance. So, let me talk about how I, in my personal life, have basically just answered some questions. In my experience, it has benefited me, especially for older people who really can't wrap their heads around it, to explain it in less political correct terms and then explain why those politically correct terms are in fact politically correct. For instance, some of my loved ones were confused with the concept of dead names or being trans. For instance, let's say Elmo is a trans man, a trans boy, because how old is Elmo? Whatever. Some of my loved ones would be like, okay, so Elmina, which would be the dead name, is now Elmo, right? So I would go on to be like, yes, that is their dead name. Elmina is their dead name. Don't speak of it. Don't use it. Their name, not the person. It is now Elmo. And Elmo shall it be. And if they are confused, they'll be like, okay, so like Elmina is now Elmo. And I'll have to explain it and say, yes, Elmina is now Elmo, but we do not refer to Elmo as Elmina. Why? Because people are allowed to change their opinions and their genders and their names. Aunt Sherry did it when she divorced Uncle whoever after he cheated on her 3 times. And then the step after that, the conversation after that would be, okay, Elmo now identifies as, and then I would respond and be like, Elmo identifies as a trans boy or man, depending on how old Elmo is. But doesn't matter. Let's not get sidetracked. So after I speak to my loved ones and help to get their heads wrapped around the fact that Elmo identifies as a trans boy or trans man, then I explain why the term identifies as is not correct. And my experience in terms of these type of conversations is when people get frustrated, they resort to things like, oh, everybody's so sensitive, everyone's a snowflake, everybody has to be so politically correct. No, it's not about being sensitive, it's about doing what's right. It's about acknowledging the person. Therefore, Elmo identifies as a trans boy or trans man is incorrect because Elmo is a trans boy or trans man. I don't identify as black. Child, I'm black. Period. Periodically. Saying that somebody identifies as something is a way of invalidating them. And you know, some people be like, oh, she identifies as this. And people use that so and so identifies as blank as a way to degrade them. I've seen personally, somebody will dead name someone else and be like, oh, Elmina identifies as a boy now. In that exact tone, with that exact shade, because it's trying to elicit some type of response from whomever they're speaking to. And that is also incorrect. Like, why? Why is it necessary? And it's not Elmina, it's Elmo, period. I would like to go through all of the words not to use when describing trans brothers, sisters, siblings, women, men, boys, non-binary trans folk, but I'm not about to trigger nobody. We're not doing that. Again, y'all, I am so sorry about all this banging going on. I'm trying to edit it out as best as I can, but thank you for sticking with me, and yeah. All right, back to the episode. So, I love this post. It was super simple on India Moore's Instagram, and it says, do refer to trans people as, and there's a list. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Super simple. 1, people. Like, no brainer, duh. 2, trans people. 3, trans folk. 4, transgender people. 5, you can identify people by the pronouns they use. Like, my name is Lauren. I use she, her, hers pronouns. Yes, identify people by the pronouns they use. Or, the most mind-blowing one, identify trans people with the names that they use. Again, the Elmo versus Elmina conversation example. It's not that hard. And again, going back to the reason that this is another Black girl podcast is because Black girls aren't a monolith. The same applies to our trans folk. Get to know them. Maybe ask them. Have a conversation about it because they are not a monolith. Just because the one trans person you met at the grocery store uses a certain type of pronoun doesn't mean that the next trans person you meet is going to use the same pronouns. Because no one is a monolith. We're all different. We're allowed to be different, and we're allowed to change. It's simple. And if you have beef about simple respectability or how to address people, maybe you need to look inward and see where that's coming from. And it's not about agreeing with a lifestyle. It's not about, first of all, because that's also problematic and that's used to throw a lot of shade. But it's not about your preference. Nobody is asking you to join the LGBTQ plus community. If you stank, they probably don't want you anyway. But seriously, it's about respecting people and addressing them. They want to be addressed and treating them the way they want to be treated. Dang, they can't let me be great. It's that simple. It's literally that simple. And if you feel uncomfortable asking, you can lead with, for instance, if I meet somebody and I'm unsure of their pronouns, you can say something like, hey pal, hey bud, something not gender specific if you're confused about their gender. You can say, hey pal, hey bud, yo, what's up? How you doing? You can address people with non-gendered greetings. Good morning, good night, good afternoon, what's up, how's it going? You know, things that are simple. You're thinking too much about this. And if you are confused about what pronouns they want to use, you can say, hey pal, what's up? My name is Lauren. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Hopefully they'll be like, hey, my name is Elmo. My pronouns are he, him. You know? And then just have a conversation. But also, going back to the emotional labor, people aren't required to educate you. We do not subjugate people to doing the emotional labor of educating us. Google is free. And that's that on that. That's all I'm going to say. And these are the type of things that require people's awareness and attention. That is why there is a Trans Awareness Week. If you didn't know by now, trans is short for transgender. So that is why there needs to be a Trans Awareness Week, because people need awareness on how to respect people and be decent human beings and mind their business. And the Awareness Week leads up to a Trans Day of Remembrance. And once you are aware, the Trans Day of Remembrance becomes so much more important because specifically, trans women of color make up a small percentage of the population, but their life expectancies are half of their cisgendered heterosexual counterparts. When I was in high school, I was fortunate enough to have a friendship where, not me, but the other person in the friendship I knew them before they transitioned. And by the time I got to college, it was normal. Like, by the time I got to college, it was understandable. By the time I got to college, I could explain and advocate so much because there was already somebody in my life who I respected so much, and I saw the things they had to go through. I saw they were teased, bullied, and the things that they had to endure. And that's why these issues became so important to me. Because honestly, there's more that connects us than more that separates us. We all want to be loved. We all need security, food, shelter. We all want some friends. We all want some Chipotle. Like, it's not that hard. But specifically for trans women of color, Black women, their life expectancy is 35. And I remember hearing that specific statistic from my trans friend in high school. And I remember thinking, like, what? Like, there's no way that can be true. Like, y'all gotta stop. And I remember, like, after he said it, the room fell completely silent. Because it was, like, heavy. Like, in high school, you're thinking about... I don't even know what you're thinking about in high school, honestly, whatever. But to think about when you're going to die, especially as a trans person, when they said that, the room fell absolutely and totally silent. Who can fathom possibly being fortunate enough to live up to 35 as a trans person? For our cis counterparts, women live up to 74, 75, and the men live up to 70. The life expectancy for some of our brothers and sisters and siblings is half of that. And no, not because of natural causes, because of the violence they face. Not only the physical violence, the political violence, the medical violence, the systemic violence. And as the cis counterparts, we have got to take more accountability, and we've got to do better. We have got to do better. Nobody's life expectancy should be 35. In high school, my friends should not be expecting or praying that they won't get cut down at the age of 35. And that's the average life expectancy. This year, so many of our trans brothers and sisters have died. Only to get misgendered in freaking newspapers and articles. They couldn't even be honored and respected in their death. That's wrong. I'm not saying that you have to agree, but if you don't agree with the fact that nobody's average life expectancy should be 35, then maybe there's a problem. Maybe. Just maybe. Maybe. Stay tuned for some places you can donate to support our trans brothers, sisters, siblings, and folk. Coming up on the next segment of Another Black Girl Podcast. Another Black Girl Podcast. All right, as promised, here are the names of some organizations you can donate to stand in solidarity and support our trans brothers, sisters, and siblings. I'm just going to name them off. I'm going to rattle them off. They should be in the bio. I'm going to put them in the bio, so if I'm talking too fast or you can't remember the name, or if you want to pick one, two, or all to donate to, just refer to the bio and or my Instagram and or the Instagram of India Moore, because I'm going to be pulling some stuff off of her Instagram too. All right, so here we go. Get your pens out. The Black Trans Free Therapy Fund, the Next Generation Project, the Okra Project, the Femme Defense Fund, the Black Trans Advocacy Coalition, Black Transmen Incorporated, Black Transwomen Incorporated, the Black Trans Mix, the Black Trans Rent Relief, Black Excellence Collective, Black Trans Media, Brave Space Alliance for the Gworls, House of Gigi, Princess Janae Place, Snap for Freedom, and then one specific cause, one specific GoFundMe that I wanted to mention on today's episode is the GoFundMe of my good sis, Paris Lahomie. So this is my good sis that I met in college, and we spent 4 years together, 4 years of trials and tribulations at a predominantly white private institution. Yeah, it was private. So it was a struggle for the both of us. But if y'all know me, like IRL, like I'm really not with it. Like I'll disappear, I'll go home, I'll go stay in my bed, nobody can find me. But Paris attempted to be more interactive, more social, more caring, and more giving than I personally chose to be at times. And I watched them fall victim to some emotional predators at the university. And with that being said, that doesn't take away from their ability to care, influence, to shine a light on those who might feel down. This doesn't take away from my pal's true nature of fierceness and sheer genius and artistry in all regards. My friend Paris is an artist, if there ever was one. They are phenomenal hair. First of all, wigs. My good sis can slay them. Every single one. A hair artist, a makeup artist, a movement artist, a theater artist, a vocal artist, an artist in all regards of the word. And my personal friend, I know this isn't a scam because, you know, some GoFundMes be scamming, but my personal friend is having a rough time. And they're one of the people that I can clearly stand 10 toes deep in this and say that they are one of the people who I will fully acknowledge has changed my life. After this episode, after I film it and post it and drop the bio, when I drop the episode, excuse me, I don't know why I said it like that. Once I drop this episode, I'm going to be donating $10 to this GoFundMe. I'm a little strapped for cash, and I know that we all are. And I know this sounds cliche, but every dollar, every cent counts. So I know this is cliche, and I know you've probably heard this a million times in this pandemic, but if you match my $10 or donate anything to my good sis Paris, who is a sheer artist and genius in every regard of the word, I would be so grateful and so happy. I will also be posting their GoFundMe link in the bio. If you look at it on Anchor, it should be the one that's bold. It's titled Paris Lahomie's Survival and Art Fund, It's gf.me/u/y9FRU9. You can show your support by going to that link and donating. And if you can't donate, but if you still care, please just share it, like it, not subscribe. It's not a YouTube channel. This is real life. And in real life, people are struggling. In real life, our friends need help. So I would appreciate it if you could help mine. And as always, if you're in need, please reach out to me and I'll share it. I'll mention it on the podcast, and I'll do what I can to help our friends out in need, because that's what's important. So I think that's it for today's episode. So please stay tuned for the next segment, which will be our affirmation segment. Yeah. Come affirm with me. Hang out. Stay a while. This episode is going to be over soon. So yeah, stick around. So, What did we learn this episode? This episode, we learned that you can hopefully find out somebody's pronouns by leading with yours. It helps normalize it, and it helps clear up anything that anyone might be wondering about. We also learned that we can start with non-gendered greetings if we're not sure what people's pronouns are. So pals, folks, buddies, royalty, ethereal beings, good morning, good night, yo, yer, what's up, what's good, all of the things. Also, I hope this doesn't have to be said, but don't touch people without consent. Don't ask personal questions. And don't subjugate people to the emotional labor of having to educate you. Period. I was going to keep talking, but that's it. That's the full stop right there. And hopefully the most beneficial thing that you take away from this episode is that all people deserve to be treated with respect. Unless they are terrorists and are causing harm. Yes. So treat people with respect. Because at the end of the day, there's more that connects us than separates us. As you know. And I mean, I hope I don't come off as condescending in any way, shape, or form. My goal is always to educate. My goal is to always spread awareness, especially during Trans Awareness Week. And to all of those lost to violence. All of our trans brothers, sisters, and siblings lost to violence. I am so sorry. To all of those experiencing violence, I am so sorry. You deserve better. And your cis counterparts have got to do better. And the first way in which we can do better, to all of my cis folks, is to continue or start to educate yourselves. Call out homophobia, racism, transphobia, classism, all of the things, all of the modes of oppression, because believe it or not, they do intersect. And whether you think about it or not, it can affect someone's life expectancy. And cut so many beautiful souls down very early on. All right, y'all, I think they're about to start working this room very soon. So before they do that, we're going to do these affirmations and then I'm going to be out of your way. Be sure to not like and subscribe, lol. I've been watching too much stuff on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at AnotherBGI. That's where I'm most active. You can follow me for my No Nuance November hot takes and all of the mess and shade on my Twitter at AnotherBGT. You can follow me on Facebook at AnotherBGF, and you can contact me on my email or my brand new website at www.anotherbg.com. And there are some blog posts and exclusive poetry and some thoughts. Yeah, and there's going to be some big announcements soon on all of my platforms about an upcoming season and maybe a potential guest for an entire season. So stay tuned for that. As always, there will be another Deca affirmation workbook coming to you soon. So yes, stay tuned. All I got for this week's affirmation is I command and I attract respect. Period. We're not here for the respectability politics. We're not here to lift ourselves up by putting other people down. We are all capable human beings who are similar but unique in our own way. And we all deserve and command respect. Period. So to everybody who feels disrespected by our society, by these oppressive systems, you command that respect. You get it, you earn it, you attract it. People hold you and regard you highly. They lift you up on a pedestal. They give you the respect and treatment that you desire because you are worth it. And if you don't feel like you're worth it, listen to Meg Thee Stallion's new album. Listen to Pink Friday again, because it dropped 10 years ago, and you might need a reminder that you are the baddest, you are the best, you are the most capable, you're a star. And as always, I love you and you got this. This is another Black Girl Podcast, Girl Black Girls. We're doing our best to make it last. Another Black Girl Podcast.